Think about a specific moment in your life when you hit a wall. A project, a subject in school, or a personal goal that felt so impossibly difficult, your brain practically begged you to walk away. We usually label that moment as failure, but failure actually only happens the exact second you stop trying. That gap between wanting to quit and actually choosing to take one more step is the true definition of perseverance. To see how that choice plays out, we can look here at the ancient brick foundations of the Jetavana Monastery in India. The urge to surrender when things get difficult is a universal human reflex, thousands of years old. But how we respond to that reflex dictates everything that happens next. Imagine the heavy toll of isolation on a monk who has lived in the dense forest, meditating every single day for 5 long years. Despite his intense discipline, he hasn't seen a single spiritual result. Exhausted and completely demoralized, he makes a final decision. He is going to abandon his practice entirely. He packs up and returns to his teacher, the Buddha, to admit defeat. But instead of scolding him, the Buddha tells him a story from a past life, a time when this exact same monk, through sheer physical willpower, saved the lives of 500 people. By recounting this history, the Buddha intended to show the monk how his individual choices once rippled outward, determining whether an entire community survived or perished. The Buddha's story begins with an ancient tradesman leading a massive caravan, much like this bullock cart and these travelers, deep into a hot sand desert. This map shows their intended route, a straight shot across the wasteland. But during the day, the sun heated the fine sand until it was hot as charcoal, burning the hoofs of the animals. They were forced to camp during the day and navigate strictly by the stars at night. Nearing the end of the journey, they make a fatal error. The caravan's guide overeats, gets comfortable, and falls asleep. Without him reading the stars, the animals gradually drift. The path curves into a wide loop, bringing the entire caravan right back to the spot they had left the evening before. The sun rises, and the travelers realize what happened. A full, exhausting night of travel has resulted in 0 forward progress. The psychological blow crushes the camp. Worse than the wasted time is the physical reality. Because the crossing was supposed to be over, their water supply is completely gone. Panic sets in, and the travelers begin weeping and looking for someone to blame. But the caravan leader separates himself from the chaos. While his people cry out in fear, he quietly starts running the variables. He knows that if he allows himself to sink into their despair, he will lose his ability to think. And if he stops thinking, every single person in that camp will die of dehydration. Pacing the camp to stay alert, he spots an anomaly, a single tuft of green grass, clinging to life, surrounded entirely by cracked, baking sand. Effective leadership requires actively suppressing panic, because fear makes you blind to the physical evidence that is often resting right at your feet. The leader deduces an undeniable fact. No plant could survive in this extreme heat without a hidden water source feeding its roots. He orders his strongest men to dig exactly where the grass is growing. They dig deep into the sand, but soon their tools strike a massive, solid rock. Hearing the thud, the diggers throw down their tools. They are exhausted, thirsty, and ready to die. The leader refuses to accept this. He gets down in the hole, presses his ear to the stone, and hears a faint rush of water. He calls down a young boy, hands him a heavy iron hammer, and tells him they will all perish if he gives up now. The boy raises the hammer over his head and strikes the rock with everything he has left. The stone splits down the middle, and a massive flow of fresh water gushes to the surface. The caravan survives. It proves a difficult rule of nature. The hardest, most painful exertion is almost always demanded of you in the exact moment before you break through. The Buddha finishes his story and looks at the disheartened monk. He reveals that the tradesman who kept his head was the Buddha himself, and the boy who swung the hammer, that was the monk. So ask yourself, what would you actually do if your water ran out in the middle of a desert? And why was that leader able to resist the panic that infected every other person in the caravan? This connection proved that the monk's capacity for endurance was a part of his history. He had already saved hundreds of lives once.
Now he only had to apply that same internal strength to his meditation. High-stakes challenges carry that same weight of exhaustion, whether it's the pressure of a final exam or the long, slow grind of learning a new language. Getting through those modern obstacles requires trusting your own capacity and relying on the people around you to keep you swinging the hammer when you want to drop it. Success only comes to those who keep trying. Difficulties, no matter how severe, can be overcome if you maintain your hope and keep looking for the grass in the sand. What is the heavy stone blocking your progress right now? And more importantly, how are you going to break it? Keep trying until you reach your goal.